CNN projecting just before we came on the air that Brandon Dukes, a Democrat, will win a Pennsylvania state House district that Trump carried by nearly 20 points in 2024. Obviously, that's a seismic shift. And Dukes is going to be our guest in just a moment. His win in this special election is sending shockwaves across the country. Pete Buttigieg said, quote, "This is a big deal. Brandon Dukes just flipped a Pennsylvania state House seat held by Republicans for almost 30 years. And the vice chair of the DNC, Malcolm Kenyatta, said this is a district that Democrats should not have had a chance to come within sneezing distance of." And from Congressman Ted Lieu, a member of House Democratic leadership, November is coming. And out front now in his first national interview since claiming victory, Brandon Dukes. And Brandon, obviously, we're just able to make this call. As I said, this is a seismic event. How does it feel to be told, you've officially won this race?
Thank you for having me, Aaron. It feels pretty good, and it's still trying to grasp the whole victory that we had yesterday. So, we look forward to going to Harrisburg. It's definitely a good feeling.
I mean, so your opponent's mother told the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette last night, quote, "I'm really shocked, right, at how things were going down." And I gave the numbers, right? Trump won this district by 20 points. OK, so it's fair to say you're shocked. I mean, but are you shocked? You were the one out campaigning every day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little shocked, but not too shocked, because we knew this district could be flipped. I ran for a supervisor seat last year in part of the district, and it was pretty much the same results that we got last night. So I had a feeling that this is a purple district. It's a swing district, and Democrats could definitely flip it in the midterm years. So, and especially in a special election like we saw last night.
Right. So your boots on the ground. So you felt it was purple. Anybody looking at this district would have said it was bright red, right? 30 years and Trump winning it by 20 points. And I guess I'm curious as to what you saw there, because the DNC vice chair, and I just mentioned him a moment ago, Malcolm Kenyatta, also a Pennsylvania state representative, posted a long thread today. Mm-hmm. And he said that your victory, quote, "in deep Trump country is the canary in the coal mine for Dems come this November. Winning here means there is not a single safe seat for the GOP." Now, again, interesting, you referred to it as purple. He refers to it as deep Trump country. So how do you see this, Brendan? Do you think that he has a point for the GOP, or do you think that what you're seeing in your district is very specific and unique to where you are?
I do. But one thing that's important about this district is that the demographics have been changing for the last few years. It's becoming much more younger and more progressive, so that worked in our favor. And like the vice chair said about being the canary in the coal mine, that's what I was. I went down in there and I ran and made it competitive and finally flipped the seat. So now it's safe to no seat is safe red or safe D, and we proved that last night. So. But every race is different, and this was particular because it was a changing demographic and plus a special election too, which helped us secure this win last night.
So you talk about the changing demographic, and maybe that's part of your answer to my next question, which is, what were the issues that motivated people to turn out? I mean, obviously, you're going to face the same opponent in November, right? You're going to run off again on this. But what were the issues that actually motivated people and got them to have this dramatic swing?
I think the overall issue that drove people to the polls were change, being a candidate of change. The district has had the same party representation for the last 30-some years, and we are offering them something different. Of course, affordability was an issue in the district with the cost of living skyrocketing. Public education was an issue on a lot of people's minds. And, of course, it's such a growing district, population as well, that we have an infrastructure that's starting to become outdated that we need to catch up with. So those were some of the top issues that we ran with. Those are the issues that we heard from voters at the doors, and we promised to deliver on them, and it resonated pretty well, as we saw last night. So those are some of the issues that we ran on.
Yeah, well, I think it's really interesting what you list there, because what you said is really important. Some of the things that you didn't say that got a lot of discussion also are important, that those weren't issues. So a lot to learn. You heard what he said. He sees it as a purple district.
I'm not quite sure I see it that way, but sure, why not?
Okay, but so that was how he said, different than Malcolm, deep red Trump country is how most would see it. So I guess that gets to the way you are looking at it on the map. Is this an isolated incident, Or is this the start of something bigger?
I think it's, something bigger. One of the things that Mr. Dukes ran on, I guess now Representative Dukes ran on, was, the fact his working class upbringing, right? And what you see in sort of that district and what you see nationwide is Donald Trump won with white working class voters, right? But look at the switch that we've seen amongst them. I mean, he won them by 34 points. His net approval rating now is -4. He's underwater with the white working class. That's a 38-point switcheroo since the election. What's going on in that district, what happened in terms of another flip in Pennsylvania earlier this cycle, is emblematic in my mind of the group that has been the core of Donald Trump's support. Adios, amigos. Goodbye. See you later.
Okay, so this was a special election.
Yeah.
So I was just pointing out he is going to be facing the same opponent in November, right? So this special election, he's in office, but you could do it again. Democrats have been very successful in special elections this time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so some might say, okay, but then you got to run again in a few months, so what do I really read into it? You actually think that's the whole point, and it's very significant.
I think it is very significant because it's been a very unlucky 13 for Republicans. There have been 13 Democrats who have been able to flip districts that were formerly held by Republicans. Republicans have flipped zero in special elections. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know that 13 is greater than 0. And more than that, if you go back over the last few cycles, 5 out of the 5 last few cycles in midterm elections, when a party outperformed in U.S. in special elections, state legislative, federal, they went on to win the U.S. House of Representatives. So this, to me, is very emblematic of something that could be huge come November.
Okay, tell me something I don't know.
I'll tell you something else that you don't know, Erin Burnett.
That's right. I didn't put the word else in there. You should have put something else in there. Anyway, I'll tell you else something that you don't know if we could put up the graphic there. I will tell you. There we go. Look at this. U.S. House of Representatives in Pennsylvania. Look at that. Again, talking about the midterm elections. The GOP won the U.S. House vote by 2 points back in 2024. Look at the 2026 polls. +9 Democrats. That's an 11-point swing. Again, last night, emblematic of a larger problem Republicans have in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
President Trump is claiming without evidence that, quote, over 24,000 non-citizens voted illegally in the 2020 election. The president attributes that claim to the U.S. Census Bureau. Here now is Thomas Hicks. He's a former chairman of the U.S. Election Assistance Commission and one of 3 officials President Trump fired from the bipartisan commission last month. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Hicks. So President Trump also posted, as the Census Bureau investigation continues, that number will, quote, explode. What's your reaction to this?
Well, accusations are not evidence. And so I am here at a national conference with hundreds of election officials who are focused in on the 26 election cycle. And they are tired of hearing about how they're allowing non-citizens to vote or those who are not eligible. They're doing their best job under tremendous circumstances of not enough pay and other accusations or other aspects. But they're doing their jobs, and this report is basically not worth the paper it's written on.